We're back for another week of On Loose Lines. Back with my main man, and I reckon the other guy will be watching, but Daniel Hibberd. Hello, mate.
Hello, Paul. Yes, first time, long time, I think it is. It's been a very staggered time since my last appearance on the show. So you've been riding solo for a bit, but good to be back after a bit of a, well, I haven't been away, but I've been busy every time you've gone live.
Yeah, and it's been one of those tricky ones too. And actually, I don't want that, Daniel. I did something I didn't want. I don't know how to get out of that now. That'll do. Actually, I don't know. That's wrong anyway, but I'll work it out in a sec. We want people to join in, get involved in the conversation. We want people to help us drive it. We're not exactly sure how long we're going to be talking for, Daniel. It could be 5 minutes, could be 3.5 hours, knowing you and I. But we want people to get involved.
We're not going to be 5. I reckon we've got that covered, but 3.5 might be a stretch.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be as well. But we definitely want people to get involved with the conversations and help us drive it in any way we want. I've got a bit of a run sheet, I suppose. But yeah, one of the biggest problems we've had is trying to link up times. A little bit of someone might have had the dirty lurgy back a little while ago. That might have slowed him down a touch. And then you've been successfully calling Thursday night races at Sandown, which must be a huge thrill for you. And I recommend. I've been to Sandown. I've had a bit of a look around there with no crowds. Great place to call, I would imagine, mate.
It's a really good setup. It is. The callers box is a really good position. You're right above the track. You're virtually right on the finish line, and you've got a good view of the whole of the track. I'll tell you what, sunsets usually a fairly opportune time to get a few good photos. I know I got one last week with the sun setting, and but it is a lovely setup there, and they always have the world famous Sandown buffet, and can highly recommend it. It's a good spread of different foods and good desserts as well. So it is always well worth a trip to the Dogs at Sandown.
One of my good New Zealand mates, Timmy White, he's on there. We might talk about that in Auckland. The buffets over there. Oh, the food was no good, I can tell you that. The sweets tray, you just go back. Something about buffets, and you take them for granted pre-COVID. It's like, another buffet. Isn't it great to get back to the buffets? Sharing a bit of food, fingers in your own food. You don't know what you're going to get. Just sensational.
It is, and it's a big part of Sandown. What Sandown provide there on Thursday nights for their Metro meeting is the buffet, and I know over the last few weeks it's been with the Cup, Sandown Cup, and the heats of the Group 1 races that they had, there was good roll-ups, but on a regular Thursday night it is proving difficult to get people back to the track. And I know that's probably the same in all the codes, but it is, it's proving pretty hard. And, all the marketing gurus and marketing teams out there for all the different clubs are doing their best to get people to come back to the races. But even with everything that's going on with COVID, it's still proving rather difficult. And then you throw in all the, cost of living pressures and all that sort of jazz. It does make it a little bit hard for people.
It is a real thing that people do have a fear of. I suppose getting COVID unexpectedly still. I think it's definitely a part of life now. I think we've got to be used to living with it. But I reckon there's a little bit in that some people still are windy about crowds and not that keen to get around and see the crowds.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I went to the footy on Saturday after I called at Bendigo, and it was a decent crowd at the footy, but even still, that it's not jam packed or anything like that. People are still pretty wary about mingling and being in confined spaces and things like that. So I think it'll come with time, but it is scary to think that we were locked down for all that amount of time. It was we all sort of thought that everything would go back to, there'd be a big sort of boom with people wanting to get out and go to races, go to different things. But for the most part, it probably hasn't happened too much.
And one of the big worries I'm hearing too, like, is that, especially the trots, that betting turnover is down a little bit because people are going back to a little bit of their old ways, and I believe the figures aren't as impressive as what probably a lot of us trotting guys would like it to be. So, Andrea Gorman, you keep watching. I've got you covered. Hello, Troy Harley's in there, the great greyhound man. We must get him back on one day too. I can get him on there. I'm not sure what my little Kiwi mate's up to, but Tim White, he joined in over in New Zealand. It was great to actually catch up with Tim. Stuart Tanner, as always, watching from London, so he gets his fix. I think he enjoyed it when myself and Cam went for the Brekkie show. I think that was much more to Stuart's timeline. I think it was a lot better for him, not that we had a lot of people going there. And yeah, Cam Bray, how's the ear, Tim? They stitch it back on. I reckon he's having a crack at me, young Cameron, but I'm not 100% sure. So chewing someone's ear off, I think, through the conversation. But a man who can talk a little bit, that's for sure.
By the sounds of it, yes. He's losing an ear. And
Lee Sutton has joined in too. And I don't know if you saw the photos yesterday from Menangle. I should have had one up. But young Lee's been known to support a little bit of facial hair from time to time. Well, he was clearly outdone yesterday by David Van Ryn, which would have to be nearly the worst moustache I've ever seen on a harness racing track. But yeah, they went all the way to Menangle and got the cash, David and Lee, and had a pretty good time. But yeah, I think Suts would be pretty happy standing alongside Dave with that shocking moustache, that's for sure. Peter Amirio, they're all back, Daniel. I say you're on, mate. They're all back. They're all joining in.
Oh, the show's back to what it was back in its heyday of about 6 weeks ago.
I noticed you've changed the hat too. We're not going to talk football. Not very often a Carlton man can be up and about either, but it was a bad weekend for football, wasn't it, mate?
Well, this is me member's hat. The other one's out in the peg, and I actually went to the game on Saturday, as I mentioned. Hey? You don't
wash your hats?
No. This is the other. It's just out in the peg. I went to the game on Saturday, and I was first half was pretty good. I thought, oh, okay, we're 4 goals up, half time, beauty, we're looking good. And then, geez, it was like going back to 4 years ago when they were absolutely hopeless. We couldn't touch the ball. It was, and I was sitting in a heap of Melbourne members, and it was like a funeral. It was seriously like a funeral, and the bay across from the right to the right of us was full of Fremantle fans, and well, don't you think they loved every minute of it in the second half? So, but I'm hoping that's the loss we had to have.
It's amazing, isn't it? The arm pads might be coming back on. The snowfields are opening up. You never know. Those little lines might start rolling out, mate.
Well, they could be going. People could be going to the snow, but big game against Sydney this week.
Absolutely. I don't know. We just had a beep come through. It must have been through your computer. I don't know where that come from. I don't think it's one of mine. I don't know. Got buttons everywhere here at the minute. I'm watching 10 screens and all the rest. Andrea Gorman, we will get to you. Yes, Lee Sutton, we did notice you had a clean face, clean shaven. And there was one other person there I was going to mention. Not sure who that was. Joan Hargraves. Good to see some people watching anyway. Scott Purden is watching in the Philippines. I'm tipping that is. Scotty might spell about as good as what I do, but you enjoy the Philippines, mate, and I don't know what time of the day it is over there, but I'm tipping it's a bit warmer than here. Hasn't the Arctic blast hit?
It's it's really cold. I called it Meadows today, and if anyone knows where the racetrack is at the Meadows, there you've got a really on a good day, it's a really picturesque view of the city skyline, about 10 or so k's away, probably a bit further. But it's a really picturesque view. You didn't see it. You might have seen it for about 2 or 3 minutes. It was a really, really weird day because it was raining, it was blowing, and then all of a sudden the sun came out. It was nice. It's turned really cold, and I know you got to expect that it is winter after all, but we probably haven't had as a fresher start to winter as we have in the last couple of days for a while.
My mum's watching, which is good. So hello, Faisy. Haven't spoke to her today. She actually even called in here today, and I wasn't home to see her, so I feel bad there. But your mother hasn't joined in yet. Brett Welsh is online too. Brett Welsh should do some things with Bretty. He's a camp drafting man. And a lot of fun, that is for sure. Fair bit to get through, Daniel, just for the week in harness. But there's been plenty going on. Just one of the recent announcements, just within the last hour, David Boydell stepping down. There was a lot of rumours and innuendo circulating, but he has stepped down as his role of at APG. So 15 years of service. I wear many hats, but I don't worry too much which hats I wear. I think we need to be able to improve our industry, and sales companies and the likes need to be able to lift their game. And Dave will be missed, that's for sure, because you lose 15 years of experience. It's a big loss to any industry. Yeah,
that's exactly right. I only just read that earlier as well. But yeah, I mean, that's the big thing that you lose is 15 years of knowledge, and it's going to be really tough to replace. And hopefully there's someone in the team that can sort of step up into that role, or recruit someone in. But it's definitely disappointing announcement.
Yeah, it is. And like I say, a lot of people, I've got Nutrien. I haven't actually got anything Nutrien. Oh, I suppose I could. Timmy White will be happy with this one. He doesn't mind this one. Brett Welsh, he'll like this one too. It's just got to come out every now and then. I won't leave it on the whole show, Daniel, I promise. But Nutrien have come into the yearling sales ranks, and they've changed things up a little bit, that's for sure. But I think APG are having a bit of a restructure by the sounds. But I still reckon that'll be a big loss for them, losing someone with as much experience as he has. He's seen the growth of the industry and the big changing of the industry, especially through APG. So a little bit of an eye opener. While I've got this on, rightio, we'll go this way. I have no idea which way I'm going to go. You know that, don't you, Daniel?
No, I'm just.
You just sit back, strap in, and away we go. And you would not believe this. Wow. This is the only one I've got. Man, I thought I did everything and I missed it. The Nutrien Winter Woolies online sale commences this Friday, the 3rd of June, and finishes Monday, the 6th of June at 6 o'clock. There's a couple of things to be going on there. Ben started watching. That could be any one of those, the Judds. There's hundreds of the Judds. You don't know which one that one will be. The Winter Woolies has got 87 lots. I think I've written down 86, but I reckon there's 87. There's a couple of late ones, so I want people to be aware of that. We've got 7 weanlings. I think there's 4 yearlings. 10 racehorses, 60 plus mares by Christian Cullen and Bettor's Delight. There's 7 untried mares as well. Huge sale. A lot of intrigue in it too, Daniel. There's the 3 Christian Cullen Silver. There's a mare called Liberty Bell Midfrew who actually went pretty fair, I reckon.
Yeah.
So she's in this sale by Christian Cullen, won an Inter Dominion and a few other things as well. So it's a pretty high quality sale. It's on this weekend. Monday night, I'll be going live. I'm going to be going live with Dean Pearce. I did tease you that I might get you in on the job, but Dean Pearce is going to join me. People want to know who Dean is. He's the Dane Pearce is the auctioneer at Nutrien. So he'll be joining me online, and we'll be going live from 6 o'clock. It could be chaos. It might be quick, but 87's as big as we've done. So I'll be watching blue dots popping off everywhere, that's for sure. But tomorrow night, Mark Barton and Emyo are both going to join me. I'm going to do another live tomorrow night from 6:30. So if anyone wants any questions in relation to the Winter Woolies or Nutrien in general, feel free to pop the questions in and get involved. But that'll be from 6:30 tomorrow night on Campbell's Comments, and we'll be going live as well there. So that's for the Winter Woolies. So that'll be a comprehensive, I suppose, all the lot numbers of the people. There's a horse in there called Renaz. I did a story with Steve Johnson yesterday. Renaz is a half to Majida by betting line. Had 1 start for a win. Actually up for sale. So it's there's a fair bit of intrigue in this sale. Sweet Louise, Phil Cherkoff's horse. Unfortunately retired, but she also is in this sale. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of really nice mares, weanlings, and yearlings. So yeah, sit back and watch it. I think the Durham Park have got 8 mares or 9 mares for sale. So yeah, some really big people in harness racing trying to sell some of those horses. So all right, that's it for the Cowboy Hat for the time being. Until he gets asked to come back on, Daniel, I don't know.
Too cold for that.
I tell you, I couldn't find any of me beanies. I found them all. The other day it was a bit fresh. I thought, I've got to find me beanie. Oh, I found them all. I tell you, I've been everywhere and found them all. And you need them. You haven't found your Melbourne Demons one.
Yeah.
Right, Andrea O'Gorman is there, and I possibly could have rang her. We could have rang her up and got her in. You never know. We might have been able to get her or not. But the Charlton Winter Wage Act competition. So basically, this was last year and the year before brought in by the COVID lockdown, if you like, Daniel, and people weren't able to get out and about. Now they're doing this on their Facebook. So one, you've got to become a Facebook member of Charlton Harness Racing Club, which is pretty easy to do. Just hit on there and like and subscribe. Then you have to register through the Facebook page. Costs $10 per person. There's a BSB there for you to put your money in. And then you bet $20 of virtual money on races race to be nominated, or 2 races. Win and place bets only. They've changed it up a little bit to make it a bit easier, I think, for the guys trying to work out who won what and all of that. All that's got to be in. The first meeting they're going to be doing is on Friday, the 3rd of June at Mildura, and they'll announce that then. And interestingly enough, the last one they're going to be doing is Friday, the 1st of July at Mildura again. So I'm tipping you might want to know your Mildura form a little bit, Daniel, just to have a fair idea where we're at. Well,
that's probably a good idea. And, there's always generally the odd roughie that gets up at those meetings. So, there's a fair bit of Charlton representation that goes up to Mildura as well. So I'm sure there'll be a few that'll be backed up there throughout the competition.
There will indeed. And as I said, pretty easy to do. Just go to the Facebook page, hit like, hit subscribe, and get involved. Great club. They have a lot of fun. They promote very, very well, and we'll keep them up. Andrea dared or teased me to see if I could go for the 3-peat. So that is for the Wall of Shame as the worst punter. So I've done it twice in a row. She's suggested I could possibly do the 3-peat, and I reckon she could be onto something.
Well, you've only got to pick the worst horse in a race.
I don't mean to. I actually try to win.
More often than not. More often than not.
I actually try to win, and I've ended up on it on the Wall of Shame 3 times in a row. So it's very, very different. Gary Newton's there. What a great idea! It is a great idea, Gary. It's very simple. It's a great way to get your members. I think other clubs should think about it, and if they want any help in promoting it and all the rest, make sure they give us a yell, because it's a simple way of getting involvement, but also growing your club and telling people what you've got going on in another way as well.
And particularly during this winter period, because it's going to get fairly cold, so not many people are going to be going out. So it's a good way to sit at home and have some sort of involvement watching the trots on a weeknight. And
that's exactly right. And I think that shows here, Daniel, by the people that are watching. We've got a lot of people watching, and I think the reality is that, like a lot of us, we're finished early. We don't enjoy this time of year. It does get a little bit tricky for me to be able to run this show sometimes, but I reckon for the next couple of 6 weeks, it'll be 6 o'clock Wednesday night when it's dark. And if people enjoy it, we'll go from there. So if people want to advertise, promote what they're doing, Greg Sugars, Ross Sugars. Great to have Rossi Sugars online. I love Rossi Sugars. Hello, Papa Smurf. He's a great man. He'd be embarrassed by me saying that, but that's okay. We don't worry about that at all. So that was his name when he was on Twitter, Papa Smurf. But he got a little bit angry, and he doesn't do Twitter anymore. So so I don't get to see him. Just on that, we'll have a serious thing. We've had Gary Newton and Ross Sugars. The passing of Josie Justice yesterday, very sad for the Justice family, and it was a little bit of a shock because she was a wily old 91-year-old. Well, she was only 90, but passed away on her birthday. So our condolences to the entire Justice family.
It was sort of, obviously she had that winner not long ago, and you sort of thought that she was, as fit as you can be when you're at that age. But like it is a shock. It is the genuine shock that she's passed, because we'd seen her on the video clips when the horse had won, and and the boys promoting and all that sort of thing. So it has come as a real shock that she's finally passed away. Yeah, and I'm sure condolences. I remember Robbie Orr done an interview after that horse won. I'm sure it was Robbie that did it. And there was she was going home to have a glass of wine or port or something, and she says, "Oh, I don't think they want me to, but yeah, I enjoy it." So she did. So, and that that horse wasn't that long ago. It would have been within the last 6 months, Steph. I would have said, totally agree with you. I would have said 6 months, but maybe less. So, no, she'll be sorely missed. And, I'm sure the whole Justice family and a lot of the South Australian people that
tune in, I think, will be upset by her passing. That's for sure. William Dornoff, we got the Tasmanians. We got them from everywhere, Daniel. We're global. We have become global. Yeah. And all I had to do was say that he's back, and look, people have tuned in. So they're by popular demand, mate. You're back. So yeah, I
don't know about popular.
Well,
demand maybe.
By the thing. I was going to bring it up. I've got Sky Channel going over my left shoulder there. I was going to bring it up when they were on. But Bathurst harness race tonight, we say about how cold it is. I follow the supercars, the V8 supercars, and they put a post out before from the top of Mount Panorama, and there was snow everywhere, and it looked cold. And anyone that's been to Bathurst, you haven't been there, but the harness racing track, I don't think it'd be 500 metres from the top of Mount Panorama. It might be, someone might say, no, you're wrong. I know you can see it, so you can definitely see the track from Mount Panorama and vice versa, so it's not that far at all. So they're racing at Ballarat tonight, and the drivers are going round, and I'm tipping they're freezing.
Well, I was driving home, just coming back from the Meadows, and I did hear before the first race, I think the caller said that it reached a maximum of 7 degrees, and I was tipping that the wind chill factor would have been about 5 to 6.
Craig Judd, he was on there before. Crookwell. It snows there, so he won't be, and I believe it does too, because I was there in the middle of summer, and I can tell you, I believe it does snow there.
Well, I saw some photos of it snowing in, I think it was Warrnambool yesterday, and there was reports of it in Ballarat too, so I think there was a fair bit of it around the place.
Yeah, well, I've done there's actually an interview coming up a bit later on with Louise Toolman in relation to the Elite lot, it's a pretty cool story, and we'll discuss that a bit closer, but she did say she thought yesterday was bad enough, but she said today was wrong. So yeah, I don't think it's very, very enjoyable no matter where you are. Juanita Breen is on. Congratulations, Juanita Breen, getting another winner during the week at Bendigo too. She's keeps notching up the winners. She does. She does it. Yeah,
big price.
Yeah, it was big price. I will say I was possibly a little bit I won't say dirty that she beat me, but I would have liked it to have been reversed, that photo finish. When you turn around, you're in New Zealand, and you're telling everyone in New Zealand you can win this race, and you go down by a pimple. You become very unpopular very quickly, I can tell you. So, yeah, that's
mate, what you made a lot more enemies over there.
That's not hard for me to make enemies over there either. Don't you worry about that. I've met some really good people. Met a man called Graham Hand. He goes by a different name on his Facebook, but I'm not going to draw into that. But his name is Graham Hand. Sold a horse called Street Talk the other day. The people you meet over there, Daniel, and the fun you can have over there, it was absolutely terrific. And he sold a horse called Street Hawk to the Bonds, and they're very confident there might be a Derby horse. He notched up his first win for him just the other night at Gloucester Park. So well done to Graham Hand and everyone that's involved. Great to see they kept a share. So a lot of the New Zealanders, a lot of horses leaving their shores in droves, and a lot of them are keeping them. So it was actually good to see that. Better Twist retiring for Brecon Farms, one of the best mares we've seen for a long time. So I'll get on to you in a sec, Pete. But yeah, it's things keep changing and things keep moving along, but yeah, good mare like her retiring.
It's the same in all the codes. We've seen a lot of the good gallopers have sort of been retired. I think Sierra Sue's been retired the last couple of days. Good mare that won a couple of Group 1s, and a couple of the good dogs over the last few months 6 months or so have been retired, and it just happens. It's just the way it is. I mean, you sort of think that these animals are going to be around for a long time, basically forever. But when you think about it, they only have in the trotters you might have a 4 or 5 year window. The gallopers might be a bit less. The dogs is only 2 years, so it's not a big time that you have all these good, particularly the good ones, racing on track, and you've got to really enjoy the moments that they give you.
Absolutely, and I was fortunate enough in New Zealand. I mean, I went over there to the weanling sales and had a ball. And I will say to any person that's potential breeder, want to meet the Kiwis and meet them in a very, very relaxed manner, and get some great insight. Like they're very, very sharing. Make sure you make your way to the weanling sale over there, run by NZB Standardbreds, Woodland Stud and Alabar. Have the two biggest drafts there, but there is a couple other outsides, but predominantly it's a Woodlands and Alabar sale. But great place, great fun. There was quite a few of us over there, and we had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we had to be with Cam Bray most of the time, but it was a lot of fun over there. But I will say, in all seriousness, Cam took me out to Brecon Farms, where Better Twister we going to reside, and it was just, beautiful property, beautiful farm, and they put it on. Nigel Fay can cook a mean donut, and if anyone says that I ate 2 pieces of donut, don't believe them. It didn't happen. But back to Alexandra Park on that night, to watch the racing over there was just breathtaking. I got to see Highgrove up close, who's a lovely 3-year-old trotter. We both have nice. He's a real deal when he comes to Australia. I encourage people to really take notice of him. He's a bit hot.
Yeah, we might be in trouble against him, I think.
He's brilliant. A Chestnut Love You. Always, whenever I do Trots Vision, which I haven't done for a long time now, Lockie McIntosh, he salivates when a Chestnut Love You comes out onto the track. You can just, Lockie steps up. He just loves it. Something about what he saw when he was overseas and that. But he loves the Chestnut Love Yous. Self Assured's win was brilliant. But the one I wanted to highlight, Daniel, was Bolt for Brilliance, and the drive of Tony Hurley. It was brilliant, and to be standing there, and I clapped. I was like, this is just an amazing drive to come up against the number one trotter probably in Australasia at the minute. He's Sunday's son. His Achilles heel seems to be that if you can get him off the bit. So Tony Hurley got him off the bit, and it was just brilliant to watch. And it's just brilliant racing. I recommend people get to New Zealand and get over there to those tracks and just have a look at it. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, in those big races, it comes down to a lot of tactics all the time, and you can have that big seed that's going to be really hard to beat. And Sunday's Son's been dominating racing over there for a good period of time, and you know what Tony Hurley brings to the table. He's one of the best going around, particularly over the last 20 years, probably even longer. But yeah, to do what he did tactically was just brilliant. It was just brilliant, and he drove his horse to not just beat the favourite, but it was to win the race, and did. Yeah, no,
it was, and I thoroughly recommend it. Actually going to do something very, very quickly, Daniel. You're just going to have to be patient for 1 sec.
Woodland Stud takes pride in their involvement in the industry, both on and off the track, supporting harness racing through sponsorship from grassroots to feature racing, giving breeders access to world-class stallions who go on to produce world-class racehorses, selling progeny at sales from some of Australasia's strongest families. Harness racing is our passion, and we will continue to strive for greatness. Your success is our success. Share the dream with Woodland Stud.
Just trying to do something different, look after all my sponsors, and it is actually great to see Graham Hand, whose Facebook Twitter handle is Porky Hand, is actually joined in. So Porky or Graham, I'd rather call you Graham. Thanks for joining us tonight, and well done with your Horse Street Hawk. Peter Ramiro, who we love him on this show, always contributes. Snowed in Beechworth today. It's only 15 minutes from me. I didn't think Beechworth was high enough for it to snow.
No, but it's still cold enough. It'd be very cold at Beechworth.
Unbelievable. You go through Beechworth to go to Falls Creek and that, or you can go that way, to go to Falls Creek, but you generally don't strike snow there, so it'll be interesting. Interesting scenes.
I'm just watching Trots Vision. I couldn't work. Alfred lost a horse. I don't know what was going on there.
Well, you tell me. I just saw him just walking along the track. You didn't see it either?
I don't quite. He's now doing a gear adjustment. I'm not sure.
Oh, no. He's been in the steward's room, I would say, and someone else has warmed it up.
Well, that's the only thing I could put it down to. That's the only thing that I could.
I just saw another driver.
Yeah, and I've just worked out why. I have just worked out why. Because he won the previous race when I watched the replay, saw the finish.
Yep.
But now looking at the TAB website, he's been relegated to second, so I suspect that he's lost the race on protest.
Okay, and someone else has gone out and warmed the horse up for him.
I'd say that's exactly what's happened.
It was quite funny because I just glanced down at it as well.
While you were putting your arm along, what's he standing out there? He's just.
And I'd love to be able to show the races and what we're talking about. It would make our show a lot more interesting, but I'm not allowed to, so I won't. But it was quite interesting. Yeah. I'll keep trying. Don't worry, I'll keep trying to push my own barrow as much as I could. But just on that Trots Vision Sunday session, Sunday night, Jason Bonington, Dave Miles, well done. It was enjoyable.
Yep.
I'm not a punter. I'm sick of form maps and speed maps and oh, can you win the last and all the rest. Just talking to participants, that's what the game should be about. And I think the Sunday session the other night was great. So Bonington, I think Jace, I only listened to him for a little bit. Jace was still trying to get a winner, which is what he's got to do. But he was also having fun and finding out about people. So I think that part's really, really keen. So, Chris has got his angry boots too coming out of the mobile just then. He came out pretty hard, didn't he?
I think he's a bit dirty, so if he's going hard, he's going to get the spot behind the leader by the looks of it.
Yeah, I'm ahead of you because he definitely has got the spot behind the leader. There is no problems there. Mate, while that race is on, Globe Derby on Monday. Now, I sent this photo through to you because this has got to be seen to be believed. They lost their meeting on Monday just gone, and you think to yourself, well, bit of rain, fair dinkum, how bad could the track be? Have a look at the infield on that photo. That is off 76 mils in 10 hours. So I would say the drains just were completely blocked and they had no hope of being able to handle it.
No, and I mean, you think of what was going on up at Albion Park and how the trotting track and the greyhound track were all underwater. I mean, this is probably nothing compared to that, but to get that amount of rain in that sort of amount of time, drains of that just can't cope. So it's no surprise to see. But it's when you sent it through to me, it actually looks a lot better than what you'd sort of think. Oh, you think the track's underwater? Well, it's still pretty bad, but it's not as bad as Albion Park or anything like that.
If it was Bendigo, you wouldn't give it a second thought because there's a dam in the middle of Bendigo. That one
there's a dam.
Yeah, there's no dam in the middle of it. So yeah, but it would clearly just be the drains and how much they could or couldn't take. So, and there'd be a safety factor there as well with people not being able to get to the infield to get out of trouble as well, and go from there. Jody's going to get the chockies here. Unfortunately, I just rebuffed just at the wrong time. It's doing it again. It won't let me show the finish. Oh no, Jody's got the cash. Yep, Jody got
home. Yeah.
Yep. So
Hurricane Hustler.
Yep.
Beat the odds on favourite Ira Pool.
Yeah. Gee, Sugars, I'll get to him in a sec. I did a little bit of homework. I got a little bit bored while we were going there before we got going, and so I did a bit of homework on doubles and trebles, and I'm going to throw a little question to you in a sec. With South Australia too, though, just very quickly, MEO, it is cold. That is why. Don't you worry. You're on tomorrow night, MEO. She's saying that I'm looking cold. Well, you're on show tomorrow night with Mark Barton, so just thought I'd give you the heads up. Went to ring her before, and she gives me nothing, Em. She just doesn't want to talk to me. I think she might think I might talk a lot. I don't know. There'd be no truth in that, would there?
You think?
At least I haven't got laryngitis and trying to talk, which I was trying to do that 2 weeks ago, so it's no good at all. How is the cough going? You want to do it, don't you?
Yeah, next question.
South Australia, pacing for pink. They had a possible 75 races run for the month of May. 31 races were won by pacing for pink drivers. So it's about a 25% winners to runners ratio. And only 10 drivers involved in that. So that is pretty enormous, isn't it? I reckon hats off and well done to everyone there. Culminating in a double to Corey Johnson at Port Pirie last night. But the one that I did want to mention was Lee Holman, or she was previously known as Leah Harvey. She won with Rhythmatic at Port Pirie, but Leah had her own fights and her own battles with breast cancer, so I'm sure that meant a lot to her. She doesn't drive anywhere near as much as what she used to, and trains. She actually does, in all seriousness, she does the strongest woman contest, or the strong men, like those lifting dead weights X amount of times and that. So so she's really had a change of what she does, and it's terrific. Gayleen McKinnon, I met Gayleen when I was in New Zealand, so hello to you, Gayleen, as well. I've got a lot of Kiwis coming on all of a sudden. It's late over there, but they'd be in the same boat. It'd be pretty fresh, I reckon, tonight over there.
It'll be pitch dark at about 4 o'clock over there.
No, you get a shock. They're actually higher than us, a lot of them. The South Island.
They get a bit longer.
Yeah, they're like Sydney, and the weather is beautiful. We were discussing this yesterday with Kate Hargraves, and you get a shock. You think New Zealand's really cold, but it's not. I think where we live is a lot worse than where a lot of those guys live. So it's no good at all. Just on the pacing for pink, Daniel, before we get off it, Ararat the other day, they raised $17,000. So well done to the Ararat Harness Racing Club and community, because it's not just the Harness Racing Club, it's the community that gets behind it as well. So I think well done to them. I think it's absolutely terrific, and it's great to see that many people getting involved and getting to the races and enjoying themselves.
It's been a big month for the event. Like it's obviously had the big day there at Shep at the start of the month, which sort of I guess quite sure whether it's a good thing or a bad thing to have it so early in the month. It's generally you would sort of like it towards the back end, I guess, to sort of culminate and stuff. But I think it's probably worked really well to have that one then, and then the Ararat one to sort of fill in the back end of it as well. So you had that good coverage for the month. And plenty of money raised, which is all what it is all about. And it's the pink pants go away now, and we're back to, I guess, normal transmission. We have the teal and the pink out fairly early on in the year, and now it's back to the white pants as normal.
It should be a time with the blue, I think, for prostate cancer as well. But we'll get there with that, so that'll be fine. So
we do, as we say, we always punch above our weight when we're looking at charitable causes, but we do, when we have a crack at it, we go above and beyond. That's for sure.
I will say, November, Movember is right. Gary Newton, of course. I will say though too, with I don't necessarily disagree with you having it at the start of the month. Might have been a little bit hard for people to get their head around with the pacing for pink, but imagine if it was this Sunday, you wouldn't get anyone there because it'd be that cold.
And that's the other side of it too. I mean, I know from
don't lift that hat up too far either, Daniel.
No,
you're starting to look a little bit like me. Yeah.
No, it's. I mean, we used to have it about that meeting that Shep had. It was generally where it was anyway, but I mean, it was only a 1 day thing, so it wasn't a full month long. But you're right. You have it on a Sunday afternoon like we've just had. You get. 3 men and the dog there, and the dog would go home early. Yep,
absolutely. Daniel, we're going to bring a topic on, and then I'm actually going to throw to an interview I've done with Louise Toolman, because I want people to give us their feedback. I want people to have a bit of a thought process on it. Louise's interview is about the Elite Lot, and also it's a bit of a paid advert with Harass the Trotters standing the stallions, a lot of those stallions that were in the Elite Lot the other day, but more or less Tomoko as well. They've got the fees to him. So I will throw to that ad in a sec. And you're right. I watched this race last night at Echuca, and it's a time-honoured event. It's an event that I really wanted to win. I won a heat. Wasn't able to win a final and the likes. But the George Croxford was on last night at Echuca in the middle of what's fair to say was a pretty ho-hum meeting. There wasn't a lot of reason for you to tune in and pick up, and have a look at a Tuesday night meeting at Echuca and the likes. And then not only that, it was run with 6 horses, which ended up being 5 horses because one broke a hobble. These quality races that get no fanfare. You mentioned another one to me today when we were talking about this, the Tontine. These heats and finals, they were time-honoured races. They were great races to be a part of. They're just disappearing.
I mean, we've gone ad nauseum about this topic several times, but I mean, last night was the case in point. I mean, I had absolutely no idea that it was on. It was only when I actually had a quick look at the fields and saw that it was on and saw what was in the field, and I thought, well, it's a $25,000 race. It's a zone race, and you've got 6 in it. I mean. I can beat on about it as I've done many times, but there's got to be some sort of serious look at it, particularly the feature races for each of the zones. We can't just have a one-race series, a one-race final, where it's just, you're getting sometimes you're getting a ho-hum field, sometimes you're getting an absolute $1.10 favourite that's going to dominate and win it. And that's no disrespect to them, but I mean, you had the Tontine run a few weeks ago, and Catch Away won it, dominated the race. Pennyont won last night, was a $1.45 favourite. What's it provide for the clubs in the zones? I mean, the race, it's just another race. Like, each of the clubs has got to basically fork out money to boost the prize money, and what do they get for it? They get a shit race. Yep. That's what they get. They just get nothing no benefit as a result of it. Another thing we've mentioned previously is that they need to look at the calendar because of the change of year. And this time of year, previously you're building up to your sires and all that sort of stuff, and you haven't got that now. So it's challenging. I know that it's challenging to prepare the calendar, but feature races for each of the zones: the Tontine for the west or the southwest, the Croxford for the northeast. You had the Eastern Grand Slam or whatever it was down through the eastern part, and then you had the the Northern Region Championship and the Central Vic Pacing and Trotting Championship. They've all just lost their luster. They're just nothing races anymore now. There's no fanfare or anything for each of the clubs or the zone for the zones to boost it or to publicise the fact that they've got this on. I mean, years ago when the Central Vic was on, that was the zone I was living in.
Yep.
That series was huge. You'd get some ripping races, particularly in the heat, because they were desperate to qualify because the finals were worth good money, and then the finals day, whether it was at Charlton or Wedderburn, wherever it was, Maryborough, they were hot races. But now you're left with a pretty ordinary taste in your mouth when you watch a $25,000 race on a Tuesday night, and you get a $1.45 favourite win, and the Tontine, fair enough, Catch a Wave won it very easily, but how would it have been if he had to go through a heat to qualify, and as they had done previously, a heat semi-final and a final? I mean, it would have been great to have him running 3 races and see him go through his classes, but now it's just one race and it's all forgotten about. There's probably the last 10 years of the running of the Tontine, I bet you wouldn't be able to name too many of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Justin Lanes just said then, clubs haven't contributed to the Tontine for a number of years. Now HRV took it over and funded it. So that's a little bit of interesting insight into the Tontine. It definitely used to be run through the clubs, and Horsham, one of the clubs that Justin's got a lot to do with, had that. Lee Sutton said there that it's a joke. There's no heats for these races. So many of them, Tontine, the Central Vic, and more, but makes them awful races. And then Gary Newton also has got involved here with the Tontine. Used to be like the Carousel. Totally. I reckon it used to be bigger than the Carousel. I think the Carousel
the Carousel, I reckon they used to run like 10 or 11 heats, didn't they? They used to run absolutely heaps of them, and then you had to basically win your heat to get through, and then the final used to be at Harold Park. It's just but we don't do that anymore.
And one of the other problems is what Stacey Towers has just said then, the programming, because we've got to sit there for 2 weeks. You can only look 2 weeks in advance. I don't know if people are aware of this, but in Victoria at the minute, you only get your program 2 weeks out. So Marie's got 2 3-year-olds at the minute that are a similar class. They race at Bendigo in the same race. They're going to be going to Shepparton in the same class. But guess what? They're 3-year-olds that could have gone to the George Croxford. But you don't go into the George Croxford first up, and one was going to have one win. The other bloke was going to be first up. You've got to be realistic about these races and be able to plan from. At least if you could have seen it coming out, would have made a big difference. And the other thing I'll say...
that's what we're so used to having basically a 3-month calendar, being that far down the track that you could sort of plan. But now, and I get, COVID was an impacting on that, but you'd like to think that we're back to some sort of normality that, they can start, pulling the programming together. And that's the other issue as well with the programming is, what the classes of horse that we've got in the rating system, it's got to be, this stuff's got to be tweaked, because it's just the product that we're putting out there is probably resulting in what you mentioned before, and the fact that turnover's not as strong as it has been.
But then the other problem is, like, as I said, Tuesday night at Echuca, you don't really look at that to see there's a feature race on that occasion. Whether with the way Trots Vision is now, it should maybe, even if it was tweaked to a Thursday night and they send some people there to promote it as a race and try and get some more people realising what it actually is, and go from there. Yes, you're spot on, Stace. It's not a COVID excuse anymore. They can't use that. All workplaces are going back to to normality. Just people have time off if they get COVID, so you're spot on there. Daniel, I'm going to throw this ad up, this interview up with Louise Toolman, but when we come back we want to discuss it further. So please, if people have got ideas on how to change it or their own thoughts on ways that it could actually be done a little bit differently, please fire them in, because I'm jack of it. I think, we've got this platform called Trots Vision. We could have highlighted the George Croxford over the past winners and things along those lines. There's a few things that we could have actually been able to do. So I would love people's feedback and that. But I'm going to throw to Louise now, and you and I will be back very, very shortly, mate. Right, now on Loose Lines, catching up, recorded version. Hello, Louise Toolman.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Very, very good. It is winter. We're both rugged up with the beanies and the jackets, all ready for winter in sunny Ballarat. It's a very cold, wintry day, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we've been a little bit lucky in the respect of the weather we have, but a couple of days before winter actually really set in, it sort of started to cool down, and first day of winter it is the fire's going, and I don't think it'll stop going for quite some months. Right,
we're going to cover off on a couple of things. One, we're going to discuss the Elite Lop. The other day it was great to catch up with Duncan McPherson Sunday night. He was live from Sweden or Solvala, and the likes, and the I suppose he was more or less saying how big it is, how big an occasion it is, and what it means to trotting over there in Europe from a harassed trotters point of view, and even down here in Australia, full stop point of view. It's got huge implications there with the winner. You're going to say its name because I never get it right. I can butcher some of the best names ever, but this one's a real tongue twister.
Well, I think I pronounce it Etanet, but it might be Etanet, but, there may be a bit more of a French flavour to it that probably pronounces it slightly different, but yeah.
And he is a son of Tomoko, and there's a real, I suppose, twist to this whole tale that Tomoko won the Elite Lop twice. Now he's sired a winner, which you're going to tell me how many times that's been done, but actually trained by the same person as well.
Yeah, so that's the first time in history that, a sire has sired. He's won the Elite Lop and then gone ahead and sired the winner of the Elite Lop. So not only did, Tomoko win it once, he won it twice, and now he's had progeny run in it before. He had a couple run in it, I think, last year, along with the son of Bold Eagle was in it as well last year. This year, Etnet came in. They were a little bit concerned about whether he'd handle the track because he's quite a big horse. He did. He sort of went a massive trip in the heat and, went 3 wide and ran 4th in the heat. I was a bit concerned, that may have taken a bit out of him, but he came and his run in the final was even bigger because he galloped going down the back.
And I don't think he was ever any closer than 3 wide in the final, because he was.
No, he actually went 4 wide, I think, in the end, sort of thing, to win it, sort of thing, and won quite comfortably as well.
You would have been talking to Pat, I'm sure. Like, what's the feedback on this horse? Like, how good could this horse be compared to Bold Eagles, Tomokos, and some of the greats over the journey?
Yeah, look, I'm not exactly sure as yet, but he's well-ranked horse in France. He's doing a good job in France, winning plenty of races. So who knows? They keep racing for so many years, don't they, over there? So who knows what he's going to do over the next few years, but it's definitely a big scalp to take, now that he actually is the winner of the Elite Lop. It's huge.
I'm going to throw you under the bus here in a second. Don't worry about Gary, he'll be right. We know he's going to come in and yell something. You may not know the answer to this one because I didn't ask you it beforehand, but Tomoko, Bold Eagle, all those horses, while still competing at the highest level, served horses and continually served horses over there. Has this horse been to stud yet? Like, is he serving horses as well while still competing?
I don't know that. Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
No, sorry, that's what I was wondering. Where it has a big, I suppose, implication here down in Australia is the availability to Australian breeders to be able to get horses like Tomoko through frozen semen, through harassed trotters. But when you look on the world stage and see what they're doing, winning races in Elite Lop and the likes, it's just huge, isn't it? And it's basically through harassed trotters. Yep, I get paid by harassed trotters to promote what they do, but this is just huge that you can get this semen here already, and you've got some in stock ready to go for next season already.
Yeah, look, I think people don't really understand, and it's sort of a question that I've been having, both with Pat and, my husband, how do we educate the actual breeder out there to understand how good these horses were on the world stage and what they do over there in France and Europe? How do we actually put it into, I suppose, into their screen so they can see how good they are and who they have to actually come up against. So for a stallion to be, in the top 20, top 10 in Europe and especially France, it's massive because there's so many stallions out there. Tomoko, was, a fantastic horse. There's no, you can't, what's the word? You can't, disagree with what he did on the racetrack, but he's now a proven sire, and now he's a proven sire of an elite lot winner. It's what the people all through Europe, want to win. It's their mile race. There's so many long distance races through France, but this is the mile. It's sort of like winning the Breeders' Crown in America. It's over a mile sort of thing. So, yeah, it's hard to sort of try to get that through to people, but, we've only ever had a couple of horses go across there. So, we see what our horses do here, but it sounds terrible, but it's another level up.
It is. Well, it definitely it is. And you see people, I know Pat's always over there trying to bring more stallions back, and Duncan McPherson's over there. But you see horses like Mari Time. It's so great to see her. She's now had 2 colts over there, like to try and improve our stock going forward. I don't think either of those colts are going to make their way back here to Australia immediately anyway, but it is such a current. It's the way the world's changed, and through this frozen semen that they're over there still racing, and we're able to get them over here. And it's not just like you've got Bird Parker, Bold Eagle, Iridan is even available. Like, so these bloodlines are there that people sitting back saying, who am I going to send my trotter to? They've got to be aware that these bloodlines are here in Australia, ready to go for the 2022 season.
Yeah, so we've got the semen for all those horses you just mentioned in both Australia and New Zealand. We have a couple of extra ones here in Australia, Brilltissimi as well here in Australia. But yeah, it's ready to go this year, which actually makes our job so much easier. Unfortunately, over the first couple of years I've worked for Harada Trotters, we've had to wait and get the semen in. Unfortunately, the first year Bold Eagle semen didn't come through no fault of anybody, but it didn't come. But, then it came late this season, or the current season just gone. But we have it sitting there waiting. So, we're sort of calling for bookings now. There is not a massive amount of it here. So, if people want to breed to these horses, to avoid disappointment, they probably need to make contact with us relatively soon.
A couple of these are eligible for the Q-Bred series too, aren't they?
So Tomoko at the moment is, we haven't made decisions where all our horses are going. New South Wales also have some pretty good lucrative schemes. Their prize money for their trotters is going up for their different things as well. So yeah, we'll make a decision exactly where our semen is stored, over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, just wanted to make it aware for people to realise that the semen is here in both Australia and New Zealand.
I will say too, the stamp that Harasta Trotters is starting to leave now in Australia and New Zealand. I was over there the other night. I was fortunate enough to be there for the Great Northern Derby and to see Highgrove, a son of Love You, in full flight. I was actually fortunate enough to be behind the mobile. I thought he was going to come in with us at one stage, but to see him in full flight, he's just a magic trotter. But that derby itself, there was 6 Love Yous, another 2 out of Love You mares, and then there was another one there that was a son of Love You. Out of an 11-horse field, Love You had a stamp on 9 of those horses, which is just amazing. Yeah,
look, that's the unfortunate thing, that we don't have Love You semen in New Zealand anymore. And I know that, people say to me that if they had it, it'd drive out the door before it hit our warehouse, basically, sort of thing. But yeah, he has had a stamp, but we're very fortunate here at Harada Trotters to have some sons of Love You on our roster as well. Quaker Jet's done a phenomenal job. He's the sire of probably the best filly in Australasia, and who knows if she had gone over to New Zealand for the recent couple of races, you're not sure, what people might have said she's the best horse in Australasia at the moment, sort of thing. So her being a daughter of Quaker Jet, and then, we just had last season we had Classic Connection over here, who's another son of Love You, who's, Mr. Dubois bred and has a high opinion of, to the stage that, I heard just the other day that, he's got a half sister to Bar Hopping. So any, breeding buffs out there would know Bar Hopping's doing a phenomenal job over there in America. Well, he owns a half sister to her, and she's got a weanling on the ground by Classic Connection. So if that's telling you something, he definitely, he's put that mare to Classic Connection because he thinks so highly of the horse. So it'll be, interesting in time to come in the next few years, once those horses hit the ground.
And that's always key. You were saying to me there before, the mother of Tough Love, she's in foal to Tomoko. When people are backing themselves and putting themselves in foal to these champion horses, you're crazy if you don't follow some of these people's leads.
Yeah, look, like Tough Love, you're just talking about that horse winning the Derby in New Zealand last week. Tough Love, she's come back this season, and she's had 6 starts. She's won 5 of them. She ran second in the Derby against the boys sort of thing, and she held the lead there, and she led for a long way, and she sort of just got probably a tire tied near the line. But, she's just a phenomenal little filly. I was fortunate enough to have her spell here at the farm when Ricky had her down here for the Breeders' Crown. She's a lovely looking mare. Ultimate Stride's another one who's, come back, and, Chris Lang's got him, firing at the moment. It's probably looking at some of the, bigger races at the end of the year sort of thing with him as well. So he definitely stamps a type sort of thing. Love You, definitely.
No, he does indeed. And at the minute in the Victorian Premiership, he's on top, Love You. But I keep reiterating this horse because I actually love him as a horse to do anything with. I'm not going to call him little. I have a bad habit of calling these stallions little, and people believe me. He's not little, but he's just a dude in use to me. He has had 5 winners so far this season. The last couple of weeks, he's just absolutely stamping himself with some of these 3-year-old fillies. I've lost Anton's horse at the minute, but there's been 3 fillies all raced at Yarra Glen. They finished 1st, 2nd and 3rd. All of them have since come back out and won another race as well. Just doing a great job for him, and such a value sire.
Yeah, you're talking about La Perriere?
Yes.
Yeah,
yep.
So La Perriere, extremely well bred. She's a full sister to I'm Set to Go, and she's a half sister to I'm Ready Jet sort of thing. So she's a great horse. Just shows that we got I'm Ready. I'm Set to Go. Pat. That mare I'm Ready Jet. Set, sorry. Yeah, it's a bit too bit of a mouthful. But, Pat sort of saw and believed in Used to Me, and, sent that mare back to Used to Me, and, has got that filly now, and I think they think a fair bit of her.
Yep, and the other one was Used to Be a Maid as 1-2 for Mick Hughes, and I'm very quickly just trying to find the name of the other one that is owned by Claire Payne. She won as well the other night at Bendigo for Chris Finozio. Her name is not that horse there, I don't think. Claire owns a few horses that are winning. But, won the other day at Bendigo and done a great job. Hasn't given its name, just to make life hard for me. She's only going its nickname. So, they're doing a really, really good job. So it's all positive and it's all good. The main reason here, though, I got you on tonight, though, was to make sure people are aware of the Elite Lot, what the Elite Lot means, I suppose, onto European racing. If you want to see the interview with Duncan, the build-up and the hype to it is just amazing. I loved one thing. Duncan said the crowd's been capped because of COVID at 27,000. Wouldn't that be a nice problem to have for us here in Australia? Capping a trotting event for 27,000. But, I mean, and that's the thing. There's 27,000 people. There was more wanting to go. But 27,000 people there. And to be able to have these bloodlines here in Australia ready to go for the season is pretty exciting, I think.
Yeah, look, I think I was there 7 years ago, maybe 8. I don't know. Just time flies, unfortunately, as you get older. But yeah, it's very hard. Like I was trying to explain to you the other day, Paul, it's very hard to be able to portray what it feels like to be there. And probably the closest thing, like I say, is something like, you know, an AFL grand final sort of thing, you know, just the crowd, the build up, the atmosphere, you know, even just, you know, walking through the streets of Sweden for the, you know, days before it, the lead up. Yeah, it's definitely a carnival. It's definitely a place people want to go. And, you know, horse trainers aspire to actually have a horse good enough to be able to run in it, sort of thing. So, it's, if people sort of were looking at Tomoko before and were just sort of thinking, yeah, he's a great racehorse, you know, he's a proven sire, but then sort of was still on the fence, you know, I think, you know, his son coming out and doing that and doing it the way he did it, I think, you know, surely will sort of tick some more boxes for him as well.
Louise, thank you very much. Won't be the last time you and I chat, and please stay warm.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'll get out there and help feed up now. I think I'll be feeding up nice and early to get these brood mares fed, sort of thing, so that I'm sure they're probably hungry out there as well.
For every stage of your horse's career, find your edge with the Barristock Racing range of feeds.
Daniel, can you hear me, Daniel?
Yes.
My problem is I can't hear you.
Powering on.
I'm back. Are you there now?
I'm here. You got me?
Yeah, my speaker just shut down just as I was getting everything back on to go on to live.
I haven't touched any buttons, so it's not me.
No, the speaker, it's a new way of doing things, and it's a lot easier than wearing headphones, but I did just about have an issue. Couple of things. Off the YouTube feed, Mark Hughes likes my beanie, so it's always good. Don't think it's this one that he liked, though. It might have been the Woodlands one. Before we get on to the rest of that what we were just talking about there, Graham Hand said there, and then Captain Trotter, we were talking about the Great Northern Derby in that interview, myself and Louise, and the second horse whose name, every time I go to think of it starts DD. Anyway, she's by Captain Treacherous out of Better's Delight mare, and she's a filly, and she's brilliant. She's absolutely beautiful trotter. This is where the trotters are going. There was also a Better's Delight trotter in that field, and no one picked that up. There was actually 2 pacing bred, so it was just an amazing little. When I was looking at them, it was just an amazing array of ones to look. Great to see we've stirred some people up, and all the rest. We'd like some more people to get involved. Stacey Towers and Lee Sutton have well and truly fired in their thoughts, and they're there to be read and warned. I think, Daniel, the timing was a little bit. I hope you listened to a lot of that interview with Louise. I don't know if you did or not, but more or less,
yeah.
The one thing that sunk in then as I was watching, I was thinking, this is good timing. They capped the Elite Lop at 27,000 people. 27,000 people. You know, if Melton capped it at 2,000, we'd be lucky to stop them. Don't worry. In New Zealand, the same problem. The crowds are terrible. But what Stacey says there about thinking outside the square, we have to as an industry. We continue to go the way we're going, and we won't have any races at all, any feature races. We'll be just doing what we're doing now at Geelong. We're watching Ray Breckley Memorial.
It's product.
Yep.
It's just product.
Yep. And not putting out the content. I'll where am I going to go back to here? Lee Sutton, what makes things so bad is we're still racing for 4,500, and then seeing what New South Wales and even Queensland are doing, it is terrific. And the Queensland Carnival's huge. They think outside the square. They do things a little bit differently. They engage all platforms and don't put all their eggs in one basket. I really like that. Stace is right. Clubs really need to take ownership for their meetings and their social media, but it's more than that, because if Shepparton promote that the media or Echuca, if you're not an Echuca Facebook follower, you don't get to see it. So although I do agree with Stace, I think there needs to be a lot more done than just that. I think the whole industry needs to, and I'm not just going to say HRV, I think all of us in general have to promote and pull our socks up a little bit. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something to that.
No, you're right.
And then she also goes on there was such a great boost during the COVID, regional racing where wins were widely spread amongst the people. Surely the state could categorise into regions with the regional series into a final. So many things could be done. Think outside the square. Totally agree. I think there's so many things that could be done if we think outside the square and do it a bit differently.
Yeah, exactly right. There's different options, and that comes back to that programming side of things that we mentioned as well. We've got the rating system, and it's okay to have a 52 to 60 rating spread, but there needs to be other clauses and things like that to sort of make the racing a bit more competitive and a bit more something that is going to be bet on by the punter, because we still rely on that dollar. But and then on the other side of that as well is that there just needs to be a look at those not elite feature races, but the next level down, and that refers to those zone races. There needs to be something. Some of those need to be, I guess, adjusted and looked at and reinvented, and some different ideas about the running of those races. Because just having one final race, I just don't think it helps anyone.
No, definitely doesn't, and it doesn't help them be able to promote it, to go to a sponsor and be able to promote these things. And I don't know. I don't think the George Croxford has a sponsor, but if there was one there last night, to go to a Tuesday night meeting at Echuca, it's going to be a hard sell to say, well, this is the future. This is where we want you to keep investing your money and keep trying to grow it. I think that's one of the.
And that's the really odd thing about it. I mean, it was just that's nothing against Echuca. That's the date that they got, but to plonk that race on a Tuesday night, $25,000 to the winner, of 25,000, that's big money. Like, it's a metropolitan class race. It's on a Tuesday night, and you get a field of 6.
Yep.
And I mean, it just, and well done to Emma and the connections there for winning the race. Well deserved, no issues there. But I mean, it just doesn't. It's just not right that it's just a one race thing. It needs to be more than that. All of those series need to be more than one race. It might be a cost saving so you don't have to run heats, but it detracts from the quality of the race. And as I said before, you can name the most recent one, but name me the last 5 winners of the Tontine. But you can't. No,
definitely couldn't. And I know back when I was a junior.
But I bet you if you can think. If you go back to the 90s and the 2000s, and you have a look at the list of winners, and you pick out a horse, you go, oh geez, he turned into a star, or he turned into a gun. I mean, I remember the Central Vic Championship, Western Light winning at Wedderburn. He turned into a bloody champion after that. Like, that's what sort of races that it was. You remember the good ones that win it. Now it's you passing interest. You wouldn't remember who won it.
Yeah. Scotty Stewart's good horse. Blitzham.
Bit of bliss.
Set the track record at Bendigo one day. I was chasing him with Dual Agent Tabman, Central Victorian Championship heat, and it was on fire. It was, and he went on to be an Inter-Dominion horse. So, like, I mean, yeah, it's
Victoria Cup winner.
Yep, the Victoria Cup, that was it. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So, I mean, that's...
And 2 Kilmore Cups too.
Yeah, and he went around in a standing start, of all things, C2 or better event.
Another issue for another night. We haven't got time.
Have you ever looked at Queensland, what they're doing? There's a $35,000 standing start for paces. I think 72 and above next week. So that's okay. So going from there, big races need more money. Galen, McKinnon, Dave and the team at Waikato Pay of Plenty Harness Racing Club do a great job of getting people to the course. Fully booked for Friday night, and still promoting the public space. Great support for trainers and owners too. That's what we want. I mean, that's in New Zealand. And, we've got to do things differently here in Australia too. New Zealanders have to, but their second biggest turnover in New Zealand is on grass track racing. So we don't have it at all. Look, we've got to think outside the square, exactly what Stacey says. We don't have to think that side far out. It's only a 3-hour plane ride, and they race on grass tracks, and it's their second biggest turnover. Surely, and they get crowds and they get good people turning up. It's just, I don't know. It just, Anyway, that's just a story for another one. Please keep firing your thoughts.
We just can't be negative on every idea that gets put forward.
No,
you can't just say no. There's got to be if someone comes up with a suggestion or a thought. It's like, okay, we could look at that. We could see if we could make that work instead of no, it's just not going to happen. There's got to be, you've got to be prepared to take that step.
And have a little bit of a look too. like yearling sales, and I was recently at a weanling sale, for goodness sakes. But people went there and enjoyed themselves. Harness people went there and enjoyed themselves. Yeah, there wasn't a huge crowd or anything like that. When was the last time a lot of trotting people actually went to the trots and actually enjoyed themselves in a day out amongst their friends? You know, like that's one of the things that is missing. How do we get people to go to the races when we probably don't enjoy going to them? You know,
Yeah.
like it's
more a job now. It's more a job, and it's a it's your livelihood, and you basically go there for work purposes, and you don't actually get to enjoy the social side of it anymore because it's the way it is.
And with Nutrien, with what I do with Nutrien, the going to the camp drafts, guess what? They enjoy themselves. They enjoy themselves pretty hard too. Don't worry about that. It'd be scary if we had every night like a camp draft, I can tell you that. But they enjoy themselves, they do it, and it's growing, not getting smaller and smaller. So, yeah, definitely need to look at things. Daniel, while people are still firing those ones in and we're getting close to the end of the show, there's no problems there. We've gone over the hour, which is unusual for us. Stacey tells, I think a lot of people put forward opinions that benefit themselves, absolutely, and not the industry as a whole. And that is exactly right. That's what I agree with that, Stacey. And that's one of those things I think it's more than just a couple of clubs' social media feed. The entire industry needs to pull their socks up, have an internal look at themselves and say, well, how do we get this bigger and better? And Peter Amirio, programming definitely needs to be looked at. Why is there not a maiden race programmed at every meeting anymore? I don't know. Maiden 3-year-olds as well, Pete. You can throw those out there. They're not there anymore. If they don't stand up, they don't stand up.
That's the big thing. They need obviously had the old COs, but you need to have that now that it's with the rating system. You've got to have that maiden race to get horses off the mark, and irrespective of their rating, they need to be able to win that maiden race, whether it's to get their bonus or whatever the case is. And then, the programming for the 3-year-olds in particular is a bit of a bugbear. And obviously I've got a share in a 3-year-old at the moment that causes a headache because there hadn't been too many races around. But the 3-year-old maidens, and then on the back end of that is, those that have won 1 or 2 races. There needs to be a bit more of a look at those sort of graded races as well, because all of a sudden if you win a 3-year-old, next thing you know, you're in a 56 to 60 class against 4 and 5-year-old horses, and it makes it really tough. So they're the races that really need to be looked at as well. And then I think, and also we mentioned when we were talking earlier about the programming and stuff. And you get these horses, you've got the program that's set up so to retain horses in the system.
Yeah,
you've got a lot of 10-year-old, 8, 9, 10-year-olds that are still racing, and it's great. And if they're sound and happy to be racing, it's great. But there just needs to be a little tweak to some of those horses that are in that, I guess, 45 to 65 rating, probably a touch less, maybe 60, that sort of float in and out of different classes. They win one, they go up a couple of grades, and all of a sudden they drop back after they have loose form. It's a circle where they keep, and it's good for connections. I'll give you the tip. It's really good for connections because you're always on an earn, but it does make it difficult for some of those lesser ranked horses to pick up wins and go through grades. So just a couple of little tweaks that need to happen with that particular particular point bracket.
Absolutely. Stacey Towers, I totally agree with you. She says there about camp drafts. People go there to socialise. They do get up early, Stacey. It has changed a lot, especially in the last year. It's getting a lot more professional and the rest. That's what I'm getting back to. It's got to be fun to go to the trots. You can't party every night. Doesn't matter.
No.
Back in your halcyon
You're
days.
not going to party on a Tuesday. You're not going to party on a Tuesday night at a Chuka.
And maybe that's our problem. We try to make, every time we go to a race meet and try and make it fun. Well, maybe we should say every second Friday or something. I don't know. Think outside the square.
I don't know. This is coming out of the voice of 1T Harley, and obviously he's a very well respected administrator has been a well respected administrator in dogs. And I remember him saying something a little while ago that if you've got, for example, in the dogs, for example, they have 100 meetings a year or whatever the case may be. You basically want to make 10% of those premium days. The rest of them, you're not expecting every man and his dog to turn up. But if you can make 10% of the amount of meetings that you get, say, for example, a club that has races once a month, so 12 meetings a year. So basically, they're trying to make maybe two or three meetings of your year as big as you possibly can. And that's obviously going to be a cup and maybe a couple of others. But that's what we should be trying to aim for, is getting. They should be trying to do it all the time, because you're just not going to be able to do it. But really pushing hard for that 10% of your total meetings to get as many bums on seats at those meetings and make them a real event. We can't be expecting people to turn up every meeting every week.
No, totally. I totally agree with that, and maybe that's one of those things. But I do reckon the flip side of that is help these clubs like Echuca don't have their George Croxford on a Tuesday night, or the Tontine whenever it was, and go from there. There definitely needs to be a little bit of a tweak, because we actually sent two horses around in a 3-year-old, effectively a maiden, 50 to 55. So in the old fashions, it was CO to C1. Juanita's horse beat us. It's now won 3 from 12. Our horse that ran second, I think he's had 6 starts, won 2 of those. They're not maidens, and all the rest. And I know people will turn around and say, yeah, but when McCheddar gets to a 60 rater, he's almost going to be on his mark. I understand that this is where that tweaking's got to go. Like, there's got to be tweaking. The reason they went in that is because there was no other races for them, and yet other people would have had a 4-year-old maiden that hasn't won a race chasing those sorts of horses, so it makes it hard.
And see, one of the tweaks that I had thought about it, and case in points, like a horse like Hey Josh and Co from over this way, Dave Farrer's horse. He's 10-year-old. He's probably won 14 or 15 odd races now from about 120 odd starts, but he's floating in that sort of grade of race. He wins one, goes up in grade, finishes down the track, comes back. I think there needs to be restrictions on some races. I'm not saying all of them, but some races in that, say a 55 to 60 rater, where if you've won more than 5 races, you're ineligible, or if you've won more than 10 races, you're ineligible. And that way, it gives those ones that haven't, that are coming up and not coming back all the time a chance to win a race. Because if you've got a 50 to 55 rater, you've got a horse that's won 1 race, and from say 6 starts, and you've got an 8-year-old that's had 100 starts and won 18 races. I mean, which one are you going to pick, really?
Yep, no, totally agree. And then as you bring sponsors in, you've got, look at this horse here, it's had 6 starts and won 1, or, and you're trying to justify, well, it's going to beat the horse that's won 17 races. It don't make sense. If a horse
that's right.
It don't make one bit of sense as far as a punting point of view. Going from there. Stacey's okay with that one though, because it suits her, and that's exactly back to what Stacey said there before. That's what back to Stace. If people see things through their own coloured glasses, we're not saying those races shouldn't exist, Stace. We need those horses to keep racing, but we need,
and that's the thing. But there just needs to be a little bit of a tweak with the conditions of some races. I'm not saying all, but some races, just so that it's it makes it a little bit easier for the ones coming up, not so much going back.
She actually just said that. That's until she gets a 50 rater that can't win a maiden, then she'll want the rules changed. So, well done, Stace. You've said everything in there, and you're backing yourself up. You're and going from that. Daniel, one thing I did while I was just going through, I was looking for some more news, because I thought, we might not fill out half an hour. I don't know why I thought that.
How would you think that?
How many doubles do you reckon for the week?
Doubles for the week? Which week are we talking?
The last week. As far as participants, how many doubles do you reckon were had last week? So we are going back to Mildura last Tuesday night.
Oh, it'd have to be at least half a dozen, wouldn't it?
18. 18 doubles.
18 doubles.
And 3 trebles. I'll go backwards. At Mildura, Wayne Hill, James Herbertson, Michelle Phillips, and Luke Watson. 4 people drove. Yep. And we were with Michelle Phillips. Congratulations. She drove her 200th winner during the week. Might have nearly been at that Mildura meeting, I think, without knowing. Shepparton was lonely for Abby Turnbull. She was the only person to get a double at Shepparton.
Yep.
Charlton, we had Anthony Butt, Greg Sugars and Karen Manning all as drivers, Greg Norman as a trainer. At Ballarat, young Lockie Cook got a double. Mark Pitt got a treble and Emma Stewart got a double. So Mark drove 3 obviously and goes from there. Bendigo last Friday night, Chris Finozio got a double, and Julie, actually I'm wrong, because Julie and Jack, I counted them as one, so it's actually 19. Julie Douglas and Jackie Law both got a double, have the same lot of horses, so I apologise, it's up to 19. Melton, Emma Stewart, Mark Pitt got doubles, and Greg Sugars and Jess Tubbs got trebles, got a treble as well there. At Cranbourne, Joe Pace got a double, and we're going to give an honourable mention to his son Adrian. He got one winner at Cranbourne. I didn't count this as a double, it's okay. He got one winner at Cranbourne, but he also won the race at Bendigo for the no more than 10 wins. So I think that's great when they get that too in the week. I want to try and highlight as many as I can going forward. Horsham, Alan Rickson got a double, and Eddie Stricker, the horses we're talking about, those horses with high ratings, but good luck to him, Ben Yole, he got a double as well. So that's a pretty big week. 19 doubles and two trebles. The trebles were to, who did I say, Mark Pitt and Greg and Jess. So yeah, well done to all of those people involved. I reckon that was, all of a sudden I'm like, this, yeah.
That's a lot of, and I mean, it makes it good for the stables and then the drivers, so at least they've gone to the races and had a couple of winners. It boosts the bank balance at payday time.
Absolutely. I think that's really, really cool. Peter Amirio, 3-year-olds they drop back 8 points in New South Wales. So he's won one. He's got one that's won 2 and is in a 46 rater. So there's some really I did hear again driving home tonight. They were talking about a race at Bathurst, and they mentioned that there was 5 points, and it might have been 8 points. Oh no, it was the double lift. They could get the double lift. There's 2 lifts that they can get, and a couple of these horses had been able to get a concession and then the mare's lift as well. So yeah, it's a bit different up there, and I don't know whether that's the right way to go about it either. No, I'm in agreement with you. So double lifts are dangerous.
Oh yeah, I mean we've never had them here in Victoria, as far as I'm aware.
It has happened, but they fixed it up pretty quick. And I'm talking back. Yeah. I'm think even before I was a junior, if not at least when I was a junior. So yeah, so it's all good. Graham Hand, he's still on my New Zealand mate. Hopefully his cows, he got a truckload of cows delivered to the wrong property the other day. I don't think he was all that happy. So yeah, nothing worse when you're sitting back and enjoy your night and you get that sort of a message. That's for sure. Right, mate, I think we've covered off on everything. Phil Williamson trained his 700th winner, so they're big achievements. I like highlighting big achievements like that. I think they're really, really key. So we've covered off on a lot. Hopefully we've got a few people thinking. Stacey Towers, New South Wales also don't have a lot of age clauses on their races. So I wonder if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
So the 3-year-olds can race up in grade, and I guess the older ones can go in the lower class too.
Yeah, I'd be interested on maybe some New South Wales people next week. We'll get that going from there. And Mum has tuned in. She says you're still coughing.
3 weeks it's been going on. And it's not COVID. For everyone, it hasn't been that. But I'm getting there. I don't know what it is. So I've managed to. I haven't had it happen. Touch wood. Calling a race yet, so I've managed to survive that.
Actually, talking about the George Croxford, poor old Lockie, it got him just as they released him, and you could tell. I was like, "Where's the enthusiasm from Locke?" And yeah, he actually excuses himself midway. It'd be nothing worse than that for a race caller, I must admit.
It's harder for him because he's got to talk for 2.5 minutes. I'm lucky; I only have to talk for 30 seconds most times, so I can get away with it a little bit easier. Yeah,
but if you get the cough at the wrong time, that 30 seconds could be a whole cough.
I've had a couple of times where the urges come just as they put the last one in, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. But, managed to get through it.
All right, mate. I will let you go. Please make sure anyone watching wants to get a comprehensive run through of all the horses going into the Winter Woolly sale for Nutrien, which commences Friday. Commences. Yeah, that's the right word. Concludes on Monday, the 6th at 6 o'clock. As I said, Dane Pearce will be joining me live on Monday. So I've got 2 more lives coming up in the next week. And are you working next Wednesday?
Yeah, Bendigo. So that'll be back to the twilight finish, which would be about 6 o'clock, so we could work something out there.
I'll get you on the phone. I was actually thinking of I could go out there and do it, and then I was like, nah.
It's winter. You don't work well in the winter.
The heater's on. Mate, the Solarplex, it's just not built for being...
I could probably stay in the caller's box. It's actually not a bad heater in that room, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, but I'm sure that, I forgot his name, would want to kick you out by the time you leave.
Charlton will probably want to kick me out.
Charlton, what a great name that is. Don't forget the Charlton Harness Racing Club, their Facebook page. Get on and like it and get involved in the Punters Club, the Punters competition. I won't be running last, and I will be tipping seriously. I will win this year. I promise.
I better do it then, I suppose, just so I can beat you.
Yep, everyone should do it so they can beat me. Daniel Hibberd, thank you very much for joining me. This has been On Loose Lines for another week. Thank you for everyone that's contributed. Look forward to coming back next week. We can pursue this topic even more. People might have an idea how to think outside the square as well.
Hopefully we've solved it and they've come to the table and they've made big changes.
They've come to the On Loose Lines panel and said, listen, we want you guys to start running harness racing. Wouldn't that be dangerous?
I don't want to run the show. We just want to solve a couple of issues. That's all we want to do.
I could have some fun. Don't you worry about that. Right, mate. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Good night.